The internet has always promised one thing above all else: anonymity. Behind a blank username or no username at all, people reveal the versions of themselves they would never dare show the real world. Some visit online forums looking for answers, others searching for entertainment, and millions simply pass the time. But hidden among the jokes, memes, and meaningless conversations are posts that leave investigators, journalists, and ordinary readers asking the same terrifying question: what if this wasn't fiction? Tonight, we're diving into a collection of mysterious posts that surfaced on one of the internet's most infamous anonymous message boards. Some were eventually explained, others remain unsolved, and a few crossed the line from disturbing internet folklore into real-life criminal investigations. These are not just creepy stories buried in forgotten archives. They are digital footprints left behind by people whose identities were never fully uncovered, reminding us that behind every anonymous screen could be someone carrying a secret too dark to imagine. What makes these cases especially chilling isn't just the content of the posts, it's the uncertainty surrounding them. Every photograph, every message, every timestamp became part of a puzzle that thousands of strangers tried desperately to solve. Some believed they were elaborate hoaxes designed to shock the internet. Others feared they were confessions hiding in plain sight. In a world where anyone can disappear behind a keyboard, truth becomes almost impossible to separate from fiction. And yet, time and again, history has shown that sometimes the most unbelievable stories turn out to be painfully real. So dim the lights, settle in, and prepare yourself as we unravel 10 haunting tales that continue to linger in the darkest corners of the internet long after the original posts vanished. The first mystery began with what looked like an ordinary conversation. In 2007, an anonymous user created a simple thread asking people a harmless question: what do you keep in your freezer? Predictably, the replies were filled with jokes. Some answered with frozen pizza, others mentioned old leftovers, while a few sarcastically claimed they kept strange things like dead animals or even human bodies. It was exactly the kind of absurd humor people expected from an anonymous message board. But then, the original poster replied to one particular joke with a single unsettling confirmation. According to the anonymous user, there really was a severed human leg hidden inside the freezer, while additional body parts rested inside a black trash bag nearby. Suddenly, what had started as internet comedy transformed into something deeply unsettling. Most readers immediately assumed it was another prank meant to shock strangers. But moments later, the user uploaded a photograph showing part of their own arm alongside the freezer, complete with a handwritten timestamp, proving the image had been taken specifically for the thread. The atmosphere changed instantly. People stopped laughing and began asking serious questions, demanding explanations about whose remains were inside the freezer and whether police had been contacted. None of those questions were ever answered. The anonymous poster disappeared as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving behind only a handful of photographs and endless speculation. Years later, investigators and internet historians still debate whether the images documented a real crime or an elaborate deception. Either way, the post serves as a chilling reminder that the most terrifying secrets may be hiding inside homes that appear completely ordinary from the outside. Several years later, another anonymous post surfaced, this time accompanied by a photograph that many viewers still struggle to forget. The image appeared to show a young man confined inside a cramped cage hidden beneath a bed. According to the anonymous author, the man had been living in isolation and desperately needed money. The poster claimed they had offered him food, shelter, and financial support, but only under disturbing conditions. The young man would reportedly remain inside the home, change his appearance, follow strict rules, and receive hormone injections while living almost entirely under the control of his mysterious benefactor. The language used throughout the post was cold, detached, and disturbingly casual, as though describing a harmless experiment instead of another human being's life. Readers were horrified. Some dismissed the entire story as an elaborate fantasy intended to provoke outrage. Others examined every detail of the photograph, convinced that the fear visible in the young man's expression couldn't possibly be staged. People desperately searched for clues that might identify either individual, but nothing concrete ever surfaced. No follow-up posts appeared. No missing person investigation was publicly linked to the image. Eventually, the thread faded into internet history, but the haunting questions remained unanswered. Was the photograph genuine? Had someone really documented abuse simply because anonymity gave them the confidence to do so? Or had the internet once again become the perfect stage for a deeply disturbing performance? The silence that followed made the mystery even more unsettling than the post itself. Not every terrifying story involved hidden victims or mysterious photographs. Sometimes, all it took was thousands of curious strangers willing to trust the wrong person. One anonymous user posted what appeared to be a harmless science experiment, promising readers they could create beautiful crystal formations using inexpensive, household ingredients found in almost every home. The instructions were detailed, simple to follow, and convincing enough that many users eagerly gathered the materials and began mixing them together. The final step instructed participants to blow into the container through a straw, claiming the crystals would begin forming within seconds. It sounded like a fun experiment anyone could perform in their kitchen. The truth was far more dangerous. The chemical mixture didn't produce decorative crystals, it created toxic chlorine gas, a substance capable of causing severe breathing problems and potentially life-threatening injuries. More knowledgeable users rushed into the discussion, desperately warning others to stop before someone was hurt. But for many, those warnings arrived too late. Reports soon appeared, claiming that at least one participant required hospitalization after attempting the experiment exactly as instructed. Whether every account was genuine remains uncertain. But the incident exposed a frightening reality about anonymous communities. Sometimes the greatest danger isn't a violent confession or a disturbing photograph. Sometimes it's blind trust placed in someone whose only intention is to watch complete strangers suffer from behind a computer screen. Perhaps the most infamous case began with a photograph so disturbing that many people immediately assumed it had to be fake. An anonymous user uploaded an image appearing to show the lifeless body of a woman lying on the floor. Alongside the image was a chilling message claiming that taking someone's life had been far more difficult than movies had ever suggested. Naturally, disbelief spread across the forum. Users accused the poster of creating special effects or stealing an old crime scene photograph from somewhere else online. Reverse image searches revealed nothing. The photograph had never appeared anywhere before. Determined to silence the skeptics, the anonymous poster uploaded additional images and claimed that the woman's young son would soon return home from school and discover what had happened. He even hinted that police would soon be involved, urging readers to watch the news. Less than an hour later, authorities responded to an emergency call after a young boy discovered his mother's body inside their home. The horrifying prediction had come true. The anonymous poster wasn't inventing a story, he had documented a real murder before investigators even arrived at the scene. The suspect was eventually identified, arrested, and later admitted responsibility for the killing. What began as another shocking internet thread suddenly became evidence connected to an actual homicide investigation. For thousands who witnessed the posts unfold in real time, it shattered the comforting belief that everything disturbing online is simply fiction. Sometimes the screen separating us from strangers is frighteningly thin, and sometimes the darkest confessions are posted not to seek help or forgiveness but simply because someone wants the world to know exactly what they've done. As horrifying as those cases were, one mystery stood apart because no crime was ever proven, and yet it managed to capture the imagination of people all over the world. In early 2012, a strange image appeared on the anonymous message board, carrying a simple message. It claimed that a group known only as 3301 was searching for highly intelligent individuals. Hidden within the image was an encrypted clue, invisible to anyone who glanced at it casually. But for those with the patience and technical knowledge to investigate further, that single image became the beginning of one of the most elaborate internet puzzles ever created. Within hours, programmers, mathematicians, cryptographers, and curious hobbyists began working together, convinced that they were participating in something far bigger than an ordinary online challenge. As participants solved each clue, they discovered that the puzzle stretched far beyond the internet. Hidden messages led them to real-world locations across multiple countries, where physical posters containing the next clues had mysteriously appeared. Every answer only raised more questions. Who had the resources to organize something on such a global scale? Was it a government agency recruiting talented code, a secret intelligence organization, or simply an unknown group fascinated by puzzles? No official explanation has ever been confirmed. Those who reportedly completed the challenge have remained almost completely silent, fueling theories that continue to circulate more than a decade later. Unlike the other stories, this mystery contained no confirmed violence, yet its secrecy made it just as haunting. Sometimes, the most unsettling stories are the ones that refuse to reveal their ending. Not every anonymous post relied on mystery. Some seemed determined to provoke fear through reckless behavior alone. One thread documented the actions of a user who claimed to have discovered what appeared to be an old military grenade while exploring a wooded area. Instead of contacting local authorities or leaving the object untouched, the user turned to strangers on the internet for advice. Predictably, the responses ranged from sensible warnings to reckless suggestions, rather than listening to those urging caution. The poster seemed fascinated by the possibility of making the object explode, treating it less like a dangerous explosive and more like an experiment meant to entertain anonymous spectators. Photographs continued appearing as the user tested increasingly risky ideas, each image drawing thousands of anxious viewers back to the thread. Despite repeated warnings that the device could still be dangerous, the poster continued pushing their luck. Then, without warning, the updates stopped. No final explanation, no confirmation that everything had ended safely, just silence. Some believed the thread had simply been abandoned, while others feared the worst. The truth remains unknown, but the incident highlighted another disturbing aspect of anonymous communities. Sometimes people aren't looking for advice, they're looking for an audience. And when the desire for attention outweighs common sense, strangers online become unwilling witnesses to decisions that may end in tragedy. In August 2015, another anonymous thread appeared, and this one immediately sent a wave of panic through everyone who saw it. The author claimed to have murdered several women over the years and challenged readers to identify the victims by name. If someone guessed correctly, the poster promised to upload personal photographs that had never been released publicly. Like countless shocking claims before it, many dismissed the thread as another cruel attempt to gain attention. But curiosity kept people watching. Eventually, one user guessed a name that matched the poster's expectations. True to the promise, a previously unseen photograph was uploaded. It wasn't a random image taken from the internet. Reverse image searches found nothing. As more photographs appeared, the mood changed dramatically. Internet users began comparing the images with publicly available missing person reports and unsolved homicide investigations. Eventually, one victim was linked to a real murder case that had remained unsolved for years. The images appeared to be genuine personal photographs connected to the victim rather than publicly released evidence. Alarmed users contacted federal authorities, hoping the thread might provide leads that investigators had never seen before. Almost as suddenly as it had begun, the anonymous poster vanished forever. Whether fear of capture forced the disappearance, or whether the individuals simply lost interest remains unknown. To this day, the case serves as a chilling reminder that the internet has occasionally become a place where real criminals seek recognition long before justice ever reaches them. Looking back across these stories, a disturbing pattern begins to emerge. Some were elaborate hoaxes that succeeded simply because people wanted to believe them. Others turned out to contain fragments of horrifying truths hidden beneath layers of disbelief. The anonymity that allows whistleblowers, activists, and ordinary people to speak freely can also shield individuals capable of manipulation, cruelty, or even violence. On these message boards, there are no familiar faces, no reputations to protect, and often no consequences for the words that appear on the screen. Every anonymous confession forces readers to decide whether they are witnessing fiction, performance, or a genuine cry from someone living in darkness. Perhaps that uncertainty is what makes these stories so unforgettable. Human beings naturally seek conclusions. We want mysteries solved, criminals identified, and victims given justice. But many internet mysteries never offer that satisfaction. Threads disappear, images are deleted, users vanish without explanation, leaving only archived screenshots and endless speculation behind. Years later, researchers continue piecing together fragments of digital evidence, hoping to separate fact from fiction. Yet in many cases, the truth may have disappeared forever the moment the original poster logged off for the final time. The internet has become humanity's largest archive of thoughts, conversations, and memories. Every second, millions of new posts appear, most of them completely harmless and quickly forgotten. But hidden among that endless flood of information are rare moments that refuse to disappear. A single photograph, a cryptic sentence, a timestamp that changes everything. These fragments become modern urban legends, not because they are necessarily supernatural, but because they expose something far more frightening. They reveal just how little we truly know about the strangers sharing the digital world beside us. Every anonymous message carries the possibility that somewhere behind the screen sits an ordinary person, or someone hiding an extraordinary secret. As we close today's episode, remember that the most unsettling part of these stories isn't the unanswered questions themselves. It's the realization that somewhere, right now, new anonymous posts are being written. Most will disappear into obscurity without consequence. Others may one day become the subject of investigations, documentaries, or criminal cases that capture worldwide attention. Until then, these haunting threads remain frozen in internet history, silent reminders that sometimes the darkest mysteries aren't found in abandoned buildings or forgotten forests. Sometimes, they're waiting behind a blinking cursor, posted by someone who never intended to reveal their name, only their secret.